I get the question a lot about what type of salespeople do I like to hire in the staffing industry and what is my process for finding them. So I want to share that with you now because if you go too long without a good sales producer, there's an opportunity cost associated with that. You lose production and it can set you back in future years. However, if you make a costly hiring mistake by hiring the wrong person, that too has an opportunity cost with it that can set you back. And you don't want to do that. You want to position your sales hiring process as one that's going to move you forward. Okay. This is how I do it. Some of the industries that I like salespeople to come out of, I will tell you, I'm a bit of a contrarian. I don't like to hire salespeople from the staffing industry. Okay. That's not me saying that all salespeople from this industry are bad or you can't find a good one. That is not what it is. I'm just saying from my personal experience, I have had better luck hiring people from outside of the staffing industry and training them on the way that we do business, on training them on our value proposition that's unique to us. And sometimes there is an opportunity cost and some impediment to untraining people of bad habits or old skills and techniques that are not directly transferable to your agency. So it is my experience I like hiring people from outside of the industry. So where do I hire from? What industries do I really like? So this is something that's interesting. The staffing industry is amazing, but let's be honest, it is not the highest paying sales jobs out there, right? We all know this. So you have to find ways to convey value to a candidate outside of just monetary compensation. And there's multiple reasons why that's important, right? But when you look at this, I like to look at industries that are a little grittier, a little bit more frustrating than the staffing industry. So I like to look for people that require great customer engagement skills, high, fast productivity, people that can actually think on their feet and engage in different ways, keep a smile on their face. Like I like people that have those fundamental skills when it comes to sales. I also like people that have to think about how do I solve the problem that's in front of me to keep the customer happy, right? And they can be happy and enthusiastic while doing it. If you have some of those fundamental traits, I have found the best experience with hiring people that have those fundamental characteristics of who they are at the core being and training them the skills of staffing sales, right? So what kind of industries do I tend to find these people in? Hospitality. That is a big one. I like to find people that have worked in hospitality or retail. And I'll say it's a certain sector of retail. When you find that employee that's in a retail environment where they're dealing with maybe a higher end product or service, or maybe a lower transactional volume, where there's more of a sales cycle involved. So not your typical checkout clerk, that type of retail, but more of a retail that becomes a little bit more salesy, right? I like those people that have to sort of grind in that environment because those people tend to be overworked, underappreciated. They work weird hours. Sometimes they got to get their hands dirty. You know, I'll tell you, enterprise car sales or enterprise car rentals, that they've got a world-class training program. They train their people really, really well. But a lot of the enterprise associates that you deal with, not only do they have to deal with customers and make sure that they're dealing with all the paperwork right, and they're dealing with inventory management and knowing which car to put you in and how to upsell you on certain products, a lot of times they also have to clean the cars and they got to fill the cars up with gas and they got to do some of those things and they get their hands dirty. But they also present a professional image when they're dealing with you. They typically have good customer service. So that's a company that I don't mind recruiting out of for salespeople because they know how to engage with a variety of people and they typically are solving a similar problem, right? So I also like people that have done direct sales, that have done door-to-door sales where they got to get out there and they got to do something where they've been basically battle tested to rejection and it doesn't bother them, right? Because as you know, in this industry and any other sales industry, sometimes the sales cycle is long and it oftentimes ends with a no, and you have to be okay with that, right? So I like people that come out of those industries. So when we do this, there's sort of two ways to manage the recruiting for these types of people, right? First and foremost, you do your typical recruitment, your job ads and your posts, and you call it out. You say, hey, do you work in retail, or do you work in hospitality, or do you work in a job where you're overworked, you're underappreciated, you have grit and hustle, and you like a fast pace, but you want to take those skills into a better environment and to a professional career where you can grow and be rewarded for your hard work, right? You want to target those people and kind of navigate the top of the funnel and hopefully filter just those people into the funnel. It won't be all those people, but that's why you have that ideal candidate profile that you're going to be measuring it against and be filtering people through. You're going to, reach out to all of the applicants, give them all a positive experience of your company, but you're going to shortlist the best ones, the ones that look like they've demonstrated success in those industries that you're targeting hiring out of, right? On the other side of it, this is where hiring for salespeople becomes programmatic, not an event. This is something that you should be doing all the time. Really be looking for the industries that your best salespeople have come out of. Create that, find the geography, list all the industries within that geography that fits your mold, and then identify all of the companies that are in those industries within that geography, and then identify all of the different titles that they might call their salesperson. And then you're going to use your resume databases, your LinkedIn's, your tools out there to start putting names underneath all of those titles of those companies in those industries, in those geography, and you're creating a talent map. And with this talent map, you now have a tool to do outreach. And you're going to be reaching out to passive talent, not people that are going to be actively applying to your jobs, but those people that might be interested in a new opportunity, but they just need a nudge. They haven't quite made their mind up to say, hey, I'm going to be actively looking. This sometimes can be your best talent, right? So, and plus when people are recruited, when they feel like someone's calling them and you reach out to them and you say, hey, Jane Smith, I actually am hiring for a key role at my position. You are on our radar, our short list of candidates to consider. Are you open to opportunities, and can we discuss this when you're not at work? Simple as that. If you can, schedule an appointment, talk to them, take them through your vetting process, and let them know if they're a good fit or not. Now, once I have a good short list of candidates, I will tell you what my recruiting, my screening process looks like, and then what my hiring and onboarding process looks like. First and foremost, I typically rely on a 2-interview format. First interview is the same for every single candidate. I am basically using an objective interview model where I'm putting everybody to the same questions and I'm assessing how they handle the questions, how they respond to the scenarios, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm sort of able to grade everybody against the same test in a sense. And then I stack rank my responses. And then for my top 3 or 4 candidates, then I actually create a custom interview for each one of them that's going to affirm the green flags that I got out of the first interview, or maybe address the yellow flags. Nobody really makes it forward with a red flag. So, and then I take them through these custom interviews. Sometimes I might involve other people if they're going to have to work as part of a team or work for a specific manager. You might actually have that team approach, but you will interview them and you'll see how they do. And you will pick the best candidate, right? Sometimes you got a couple close calls. And you're like, I don't know between number 1 or 2. It's okay to hire them both. If you have the budget and you can afford it, hire them both. And if both of them work out, you're probably doing pretty well. But if one of them emerges stronger after the first 90 days, there you go. There's your choice. They chose for you. They self-selected, right? So now once they hire, I have a pretty rigorous training model, as you might expect, as somebody that has, launched the Staffing Sales Summit and emphasizes so much on training, learning, and development, right? We put them through a pretty incredible process where we don't teach them just the fundamentals. I want staffing professionals. I want people that appreciate the industry, they understand the industry. So we teach them all of the reasons that our industry exists, the value that we provide, and then we get specific to our company. What are the value drivers that we have, right? What clients do we service, and what is their value proposition that they deliver to their clients? And how does our value and our process of hiring talent support that? And we talk about those things and we do incredible training, but most importantly, we teach them how to build their own campaigns, how to identify their own prospects, how to, structure their campaign, and then they test it. Every single one of our salespeople will do practice and they will get a go, no go, learn it from the military, go, no go. They will have to qualify before we let them go active into the field on real customers, real prospects, right? And we do this by actually having them do, their email campaigns to internal people, other salespeople that know what works and what doesn't work. They will do their own role practice cold calls to other salespeople and other people in the organization, and they will grade them. Yes, we have rubrics that will actually show them how to actually score and based on standard criteria, so we can give feedback. So in this process, we can say, hey, you were really good, or you should try this. And we want to see how coachable they are. Can they make adjustments to the way they're doing it until they get a passing score and they get that go status so we can go active with their campaign. And then from here, we just run 3 30-day campaigns back to back. And my first campaign, I have no goals. The first thing I want to learn about someone is, can they do the work, right? I don't have sales commissions in my first 30 days. Or sales quota. I don't say you got to acquire this number of clients. You got to do this or that and make this much money. I don't do that. The very first thing I want to know is, can they follow a plan? Can they do the work? And can they be coached, right? If they can do those 3 things, a lot of times I can work with it. So the first 30 days, we basically run through it at that 30-day kind of toll review. That's what we're looking. Did they complete the plan? Did they do the necessary work? From there, we'll take a look to see what traction we did get, and then we will set some informal soft goals. We'll say, hey, we're going to, make some very minor changes to the second 30-day plan, right? And then we're going to say, based on what we think is going to happen, we think you're going to acquire this many clients, right? We're going to make some guesses based on the effort, and then we're going to run it back. We're going to see how they do. Can they follow the plan 2 months in a row? And can they make those necessary changes? Do they take the coaching from that 30-day review and apply it to that second 30-day campaign? And how do they do with it, right? And this is a multi-touch campaign. This is a lot like what you've heard from myself or Tom Erb or Mark Winter or really any of the sales speakers, the Butler Street folks. You've heard out there these multi-touch targeted campaigns, right? Now, once they get through that one, they should have some traction. They should have some level of comfort with the selling process. So now we get into the third 30-day campaign, kind of the final campaign of the probationary period, right? And we're going to set some goals. We're going to say, based on what we've seen out of the first 2 campaigns of the first 60 days, we think if you do X amount of work, it's going to result in Y amount of clients, orders, etc. We might put gross margin targets on there if the sales cycle is short enough, if the roles we're looking for are easy to fill, that kind of stuff. But we play it by ear based on the industry that they're targeting, the roles they're filling, all that stuff. But we will set some goals. Once we get to the end of that third 30-day campaign, or the 90-day, probationary period, then we evaluate it. I will tell you at this point, this is another major go or no-go period. They either show that they have what it takes, that they can follow a plan, that they can actually be coachable, they're willing to do the work, the velocity and volume of work necessary to do production staffing, right? And that they're getting results, that the work they do translates to results. I will tell you, for some inexplicable reason, that's not always the case. I have met salespeople that they can be really busy, they can be super active, but they're not productive. For some reason, like all of their efforts just doesn't produce the same results. And I've seen salespeople that for some inexplicable reason, they seem like they don't have to put in as much effort, but they just make results happen. I can't explain it. It's just something that works in the universe, but you have to realize that if they don't show that they can produce for you in the first 90 days, they're probably not going to, right? So if they hit their target, amazing. They're off and running, they're active, they're no longer in a probationary period, they're part of the team, success. If they're really close and you're like, oh man, this is really close, you might want to consider a PIP, and you might look at something like a 30, 45, or even up to another 90, depending on your industry, the sales cycle, how close they were, and you extend it out, but you just run this back. The goal is to see, can they follow a plan? Can they do the work? Can they produce the results that you need to support your strategic plan and your growth objectives, right? If they don't hit it at 6 months, and I know for some people, you're like, wow, that's not a very long period of time. I know other people that are like, 6 months is way too long to figure this out, because you're burning a lot of money if it doesn't work. 6 months is what I landed on. You can pick what's right for you and your company, but if they don't show that they can produce the results that you need within 6 months, they're probably never going to. Now, before you think that I'm some insensitive jerk and I just want to cut people loose, that's not the case. I just recognize that if somebody is unsuccessful in a role and they're not likely to achieve success there, they're probably just as unhappy about it as I am. right? It's not good for the organization and it's not good for them. There probably is a role out there somewhere, maybe a different company, a different type of job, a different industry. I don't know, but there probably is a role out there that they would succeed at, that they would be happier and more fulfilled at. So we let them go find that and we encourage them and we're okay with it because we have to protect the organization. We have to make sure that all of our producers are producing at the highest level because that's what's the best for the organization and the people that depend on the success of the organization to support their livelihoods, right? So as a leader, you have an onus to make sure that you're always equipping your people and producing the top producers for your organization to go out and hit their goals. And if they can't do it, you have to make that difficult decision. But just understand a lot of times you're not really letting people go. You're just not holding them back any longer from maybe the job that they could go be successful at. And I have had so many people along my career that have actually left us because they couldn't perform or they weren't performing at the level that we needed out of that role. And they went on to flourish in some other job and they were so much happier. And that's just how it is. Sometimes it's not the right fit. But when you take that approach and you let people go, if it's not the right fit, you make room for the people who it is the right fit. And your organization will grow and it will flourish. And all of your top producers will appreciate that you are disciplined in this practice of actually cultivating a team of top producers, because that's good for everybody. I hope this is helpful for you. If you've got any questions about how this works or you want any guidance or advice, reach out to me, send me an email, connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a message. I'd love to chat about it.